let's go ahead and set up part A. So again, our step number 1 is figure out what our k is. So for part A, again, we know our k is going to be equal to, and in this specific problem, they gave us x plus 4. So we want to go ahead and take the opposite sign. So the opposite sign of a positive 4 is going to get me a negative 4. So we know what our k is. Now we need to set up our synthetic division. So let's see if we need any placeholders first. It does appear we need some placeholders, as we see that we don't actually have an x raised to the third. So let's go ahead and put a placeholder for our x to the third. Again, in this case, we're going to want to go ahead and use our coefficients or leading coefficients. So we will have a 3, a placeholder for that third degree, a negative 48, a positive 8, and then finally we'll have a positive 32. So this is going to be our setup, and again, we know what our k is. It's negative 4, so negative 4 is going to be on the outside. First term, we want to bring it down, so that's going to be a 3. And then we continue that process of multiplying and adding. So the 3 times the negative 4 gets me a negative 12. Negative 12 plus 0 gets me a negative 12. Negative 12 times the negative 4 gets me a positive 48. And again, we want to be careful with our signs here as we're multiplying two negatives. Now, when we add these two together, we're going to get a 0. 0 times negative 4 gets me a 0. 0 plus 8 is going to get me an 8. And then finally, 8 times negative 4 gets me a negative 32. So that leaves me with a remainder of 0. Now, if we go back up to our steps here, and we look at this last part, or step 3, if our remainder is 0, then it is a factor. Otherwise, it is not a factor. So in this case, our remainder was indeed 0. So we can go ahead and conclude that this one is going to be a factor. So we can say, yes, it is a factor. All right, let's go ahead and look at that part B. So part B, we're dealing with a little bit bigger of a function, but again, we are still dealing with that x plus 4 and determining if it is a factor. So let's go ahead and set up our part B down here. So for part B, if we go ahead and look at it again, we notice that it doesn't look like we need any placeholders, right? We have a 5th degree, 4th, 3rd, 2nd, we have an x, and then we have a constant. So let's go ahead and set up our synthetic division here. So first of all, we know that our k is going to be equal to a negative 4. And again, we said we did not need any placeholders for this one. So we'll have a 1, a 6, an 11, a 12, a 5, and then finally a negative 20. So outside number, again, we said is going to be that k, which is a negative 4. First term, we bring it down, and then we continue that process of multiplying and adding. So 1 times negative 4 gets me a negative 4. When we add these together, we get a 2. 2 times negative 4 is a negative 8. And then a negative 8 plus 11 gets me a 3. 3 times negative 4 gets me a negative 12. Gives me a 0. 0 times negative 4 is going to be a 0. 0 plus 5 is a 5. And then finally, a 5 times a negative 4 is a negative 20. So we got pretty close, but our remainder is actually going to be a negative 40 here. So again, if we go back up and look at our step number 3, this falls into the otherwise category, right? Because it's not going to have a remainder of 0. So therefore, we can conclude that this one is not going to be a factor. So no, not a factor. All right.